charge of it. Okay. So this is Medicine Woman Solution Show. This is where your soul, Soultion, the solution, your soul has a solution for you. And as you learn to uh, take care of your emotional chemical peptide issues, okay, you're resolving to evolve, you're healing instead of your dealing. As you begin to do this, what happens? Okay, what happens is that you, the one that's the mind, the one that can hear and observe what you're thinking and listen to how you're communicating, you can turn around and decide with whether you believe it or if you need to believe it or do you need to be caught up into it. So who is the you? Okay, but that's part of what's waking up, and people are having a hard time getting the concept of who is that part that's listening. Is it the program or is it your spirit? And it's your spirit, but a lot of people have a hard time listening to that because on the daily basis, it basically comes up as what? Hold on. Now we can really begin. We have a tendency to not really include our emotions in how we function with our reality. We live by the seat of our pants sometimes. We live in the coping and the handling and the dealing and the anxiety and the stress, the environment, our relationship to the environment. And it can get very confusing at times when your nervous system, it feels like it's hijacked by all of these demands that come from the environment, whether it is in your yard or your kids or whoever, friends, family, work, church, whatever, these demands. And everybody has needs. Everybody has needs that need to be met. And well, it was very chaotic before this big energy shift has happened in 2025. I woke up this morning to a particular song, and they changed the words. Usually when they give a song, I can look at the meaning and hear it, but it is We're Light, and um it's beginning. We are the light. It's beginning, and it's like it's the beginning. And so I know what that means. It's the beginning. In order to hold more light and to be your spiritual self that is awake, it's the beginning. It's holding much stronger, meaning it's not climbing that hill. It's not beginning at the bottom. It's at the top. It's right there. Now it's beginning to have purpose. It's beginning to unfold. It's beginning that when one person stands, it is the second one that when it stands strong with the first one, you can begin to see the role. And that's kind of where we're at. And that song was a piggybacking on the lyrics of Stumbling In. And what was the biggest words? It's the beginning. Right now, I seem to be all of a sudden tongue-tied of why that is so confusing to me. I think it's because I had it on my phone and I was looking it up. So it begins. So it begins. There we go. I got it. See, Spirit had solved it. So it begins. And I'm like, whoa, we're light. So it begins. So that gave me a different meaning. Hi there. Remember to give me a thumbs up and become a subscriber. Glad to see you, Pam and Vicki. Wonderful, wonderful. So it begins. And I got like 4 hours sleep, but the strong energy that the planet is saying it's okay. It's like it feels like I had double that while I was sleeping. It's like I had just went to sleep and then it's like I doubled it. And I was like, whoa. So that kind of was like interesting and exciting to me that actually can happen. Get a little warm. Turn my fan on. There we go. And so I had to pause and I had to look at mother wounds. For the last 3 to 4 days, it could be a little longer, but the energy that we are meant to look at in a perspective, that we are supposed to look at from a spiritual perspective, is the conditioning that we get that is old. The conditioning is from the old mindset, the old way of thinking, the old way of how a woman or is supposed to be, how a boy is supposed to be, how a child, whatever. It's how they did things. And the awakening was, holy crap, I have been a mother. I'm still a mother. I have been a mother that was full-time, and so I'm not full-time, meaning I'm not taking care of them 24/7. And so there's a big difference. And I remember a phrase that sometimes most kids don't learn how to live without their parents. And so you want that child not to have dependency, but independence. You want that child, you did your rearing and now it's let them loose and, be there if they need it, but give them tools so that they can evolve. Hi, April. Hi, Teresa. Hi, Devin. And I'm like, wait a minute. So I'm looking at these perspectives and why is it important? And it sounds like I'm speaking in a broken information, but I'm not. It's just that the language that I usually speak has extra frequencies on top of it. And so it'll sound to those that are like having a hard time following her, is that you are also picking up different frequencies. And if you're not picking it up, it's going to sound like it's broken. But kaleidoscope, and you know what a kaleidoscope is, hopefully. And the kaleidoscope is that it's one thing, but as you turn it, you can get many meanings out of it. And that's the thing, many perspectives, many meanings. And so I'm looking from a child's perspective, and I'm looking as a mother's perspective. And the wisdom lies within letting go of the emotions. So what have I noticed? As we gear up, because it begins, is that we have to begin to understand more knowledge. And I totally can see it from another perspective now, which is not going to be easy for me to explain, but it's in the experiencing. So I've been around people. Again, no one can show up to you no other way than you let them, meaning you only see the world based on how you saw it as a child. And as you begin to see it through the eyes of another that said, oh, that's a bird. You didn't know it was a bird. You didn't even know it existed. But then all of a sudden, somebody brought it into your view and you're like, oh, yeah. And somebody said it's a bird and you can connect with it. And then if you like the color, then you can have meaning. Okay. AI says unlocking your inner kaleidoscope. How funny. And as you begin to see this, I'm watching. So I'm 57 years old, and my prefrontal cortex, which is how you create reality, it's showing me my habits and how I am towards myself. So you got to understand, you know what habits are, right? So you got a habit of covering up your mouth when you cough, a habit of, oh my gosh, I got to drink a ton of coffee every single day. A habit is something you're doing that you're not knowing you're realizing you're doing, but it's also in the responding. It's also in the responding. Okay. What does that mean in the responding? If you can wake up as your spiritual self and watching how you respond to your environment, to the people, okay, then what's going to happen is that you can observe from your spiritual self and watch how much energy you put into being conditioned. You have this ability. This is part of what the woman's energy is about, is to be able to see the bigger picture, to bring in the ideas, but to observe the ideas, and so that you can change accordingly with yang energy, the action. And so it's like everybody's like, just wake up, wake up the woman energy so that we can just start getting more back onto love instead of hate. Okay. And it gets to be very complicated. But as I'm watching, it wasn't until I was like 18, I moved out of the house and I had to come back home when I was 21. One, because I got a divorce. Two, my mother needed help. And when you realize that you're being born because you're supposed to save the marriage, or your kids are supposed to be there to take care of your parents in their old age, it becomes a different story. Some of you have been born because you had a sibling that's been sick, so you're the spare part. You can even look at this story as from the king, and they have their two sons or whatever, and one is the king and then one is the spare, right? The spare, there's a lot of, you can't have a life. You can't really, it's a different perspective altogether. But how you do things, how you think of these things. So I have in tribal where you balance all of your aura, you connect, you kick energies out, and you bring in as above, so below. You are also bringing in your fixed state. Hi, and thank you. And not only are you doing your fixed state, but there's this heart-brain coherence, right? And so you want to make sure your consciousness is connected to your heart. But I had an experience where my energy was, it was like the button that my mother always had, okay? And it got hit. And so I was responding like I did anytime around this signature that she had. So when I was 21, I had to come back home. I'm like, oh, what? I understood why I left. I love my mother. She's a great person. But I didn't know about nocebo and placebo. Okay. And that is you either, have a positive life or a negative life, a negative mental attitude or a positive mental attitude. Thank you. And, but when I came home, because I had lived a different life, I lived my life, but I didn't really live my life. I was living with my husband's world, and my husband's world was falling apart because his parents were falling apart. And that made our life fall apart because it was so shocking to him. And it just, affected everybody. Hi. I was like, what? I was so surprised at knowing and I could feel it. It's this, my body and it was like, oh, I don't know how to explain it. It's just that you can just feel the stress. You can feel that their needs aren't being met. They're walking around as a wound themselves. So my mother is a wound. She's had wounds and she's now having to give birth and have children, and she's a mother, but she's a mother that has wounds. So those wounds, and you do your best you can, and you don't want to pass it on to your children. But again, these are the soul contracts. So we have continuous mother wounds. One of my mother's wounds was that she got a divorce. Second, her father had committed suicide because he was in constant pain and he couldn't take it anymore. And then her son died he was 18. So she had all these wounds. And I look at it and like, geez, oh, Pete, how did she cope, handle, and deal? Because nobody ever resolves to evolve because we didn't have these tools. We have them now. And I look and I one of the things is that my mother did her best. She did her best, but she did like what every human being does, is that your nerves are being taxed. So you either have alcohol or you have cigarettes or you have food or you have anger issues or so how do you get your kids to do what you want when they are just thinking, no, I'm going to do what I want. No, you're not. So then there's arguments. And then it's like, um, there's narcissists, there's negativity. And how do you talk to these kids? And so then the kids learn, oh, I know how to get my mom and dad to do what I want. And they're like, well, how do I get my kids to do what I want? Well, it's the reward and punishment. And so you go on and on and on and on. But this is the time period where it's not supposed to happen anymore. It's got to stop. So I'm watching how someone's bleeding all over the place and they're not having a good day. And I didn't catch it until later that my prefrontal lobe that creates reality was only seeing my mother. My habit towards myself was to, and I would hear how they got so much to do, they feel lost or whatever it is, and all of a sudden I would jump to the rescue, or and that's part of the training, that I'm supposed to take care of my mother because she's sick, or if she had cancer. And so I learned how to become my mother. And let me explain what that means. When you're thinking about them, even if you're dwelling about how mad you are about them, you can become them. And if you are there to take care of them, which was what I was designed for, I and I, my soul has that I have to heal out, that I'm a servitude. I have to serve others. I have a slave mentality. I have I'm supposed to do all these things. So I can assist, I can help, I can people please, I can do all these things. And these are the things that you're healing. And as you want validation, you want approval, you want that love, you don't want that reward and punishment, you don't realize that these are there. But if you can resist and then you're like, yeah, I can live without them, that's great. You can rise. But what happens with love? What happens? Where does it go? But it's the button. My reality is all I can see is the nocebo effect. All I can see is their pain and suffering. All I can see is their gameplays. All I can see is that they'll go on and on and on and on. Fine. I'm going and I'm these old stuff that you guys have been working on. I'm sorry to say, you are going to feel it come to the top now as a big ass test to feel the compassion. Why? It's not to do anything except for to ask why. Oh, hi, Amber. And I'm like, I'm going in this habit, this knee-jerk reaction, that it was okay to help out, to do this, but there was this towards self. Okay, so again, prefrontal lobe, habits towards self. My frontal lobe is only showing me what I know. My habit is to always listen and respond and take care of, and towards self. And I was watching how I could feel their emotion of what they were laying down, like if they were galled that I did it wrong, galled that I had an idea. So, like, for instance, my mother was a single mom that had to, and every child before her, raised the other one before her. So there was 6 kids total. And she had to work. So she worked 3rd shift. She's doing her best to make money, bring it home so we could actually have a life. And so I was my junior high year. So 12, 13, 14, I had to step up, and I was already taking care of my sister, helping out. But this meant that I can't go to dances. I can't do sports. I've got to be there to watch my sister. So now I'm basically stuck with, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm raising children I didn't have. But I didn't just do that. I had to help out because my grandma was dying. So I would watch her while my mother worked 3rd shift, and then I had to get up and go to school. And that was tough. But then I took care of her as she was dying. Then I took care of my landlord and he's dying. And it's like all I've ever been, my nervous system is like, you can't relax. So my body, I've been watching it go at nighttime that I have to be on high alert. And I remember the thinking was is that they need me. They're getting older. Now, this is the thing about getting old, is that people go, oh, you're old, you can't do it, which is a lie. Not all people, especially those that have keep themselves healthy, but there's this stigma, right? That we're supposed to get old and fall apart, but it's not true. You don't have to. You can get old and you can eat healthy, you can take care of yourself, and your body can end up, the organs and things can be more like a Rolls Royce instead of, crappy, broken down, refrigerators and things. Your body can be healthy, but you also need the mental and emotional. So here I am. I have this big ass button, and I'm watching how, towards myself, to help me take care and continue to take and live life for others instead of having a life for me, was that I had to see them. They can't do it. The people that I've been around have been sick, so they can't do it. But when you carry that part of you, that conditioned part of you that says you can help, and partnership, you can help, you can do things. And a lot of people don't believe in partnership. People are like, this is your role, this is your role. So me and my husband are like, no, this is a partnership. This is this, this is this. But the mindset um, is that towards yourself, you have to. But if you don't have to, so here I am, I'm like, I don't have to. I'm not thinking any of that. And all of a sudden, it was like my button was pushed. The wound of that negativity, that signature that I would always feel, and how they would be galled or how they'd be so frustrated with life, how their energy, and my mother had a lot of people around her that she could be galled at, and she would have this heartbreak and have this and that. And it's amazing how all of a sudden I have energy from one organ of, how do I explain this? Gallbladder is about being galled. It's about frustration. It's about bitterness. Bitterness, it's huge. About repressing emotions, about depression. It's about rewards and punishment. And in the relationship field, as you're talking to somebody, and if they push it and you're like, and you're starting to feel these things, and it's a disappointment and anger, especially if it's thrown at you, and you're like, and you're not you. You are those emotions. You are those people because you keep thinking those emotions. You are those emotions. You keep thinking those people. You are those people. You are not your fixed state. So as they're in their shit shows, their negative way of being, and if they have a negative mindset, NMA, then what happens is that there's nothing you can do to break through that. So you have two different complete mindsets that are clashing. And you love this person, but what are you supposed to do, right? Well, this is part of the mother wound for me. What do? You have to heal this. And my prefrontal lobe was to start hating on myself because you love them, because you got to do these things. But when you hear the people use words to manipulate, control you, but they don't know they're doing it because they're in their own shit shows, you start seeing this pattern from history that keeps going on and on and on. Now, this means you have to include yourself. How do you talk? How do you get them to listen? How do you avoid? How do you afraid to bring something up? How do you put it? And again, we don't need gameplays. And that is the part of these parental but it's also part of the wounds. So the woman is not going to be able to rise as the purpose if she's going to be looking with her heart that I have to do this, I have to do that. Oh, you're welcome, Anne. I didn't know that. This is when I need to support you. Lift me. You're welcome. But it's so for me, I'm sitting there and I'm feeling my reactions. I'm feeling my knee-jerk reactions. I'm feeling it. And as I'm observing with my spiritual self going, oh my gosh, I remember this. And it's like, this was my whole teenage years right there, flashing before me. And I'm like, I'm sitting here feeling this, but I was supposed to observe how communication is. And I'm like, but how can I stop this? Spirit goes, well, you know, you got tools, but just look at this for a moment. I remember being a young mother, and it's like, how do you get your kids that are very independent to cooperate? And it wasn't until I went into preschool and I learned that we have schedules and we have routines. And it's like, okay, this is playtime. Let's get messy, but we have cleanup time. We've got bedtime. We've got this time. So it's like, oh, well, I get it. And then I could appreciate my mother more. And then I really could appreciate my mother more when your kids didn't listen. But then I really appreciated that here I am. Oh my God, I'm displaying my parent to my child. And I stopped myself as I'm witnessing as that spiritual self going, but is that how I want to speak to my children? No. Now I have to take care of these emotions because I don't need to bleed all over so that they have to pass on the same thing that I learned. And that's the epigenetic of the things. So that's where tools came in, OMG, EFT, 6S, and S source point, and all of these things, because I had this person that was going into their blah, blah, and you can only see what your filing cabinet has, only what you've ever experienced, and it's right there in your head, and it's like, oh my gosh, and you're waking up, you're using different words, but these emotions take over, and I said, stop, rub your points. First measure, rub your points, and then let's do some more rubbing. And all of a sudden, they're like, eh. And I said, no, wait. Notice how the environment is taxing you. So I said, let's do some chord switching or do eye accessing or ear accessing. And all of a sudden, as we did some rubbing, their brain went, whew. And I said, so now can you hear it? Yeah, it doesn't annoy me. I said, notice how that towards ourselves, we say we can't take it because our nerves are saying we can't take it. But is it true? What is it that you really can't take? And what you really need to see is, where did you go? You haven't called yourself back in. You did not get yourself back in your fixed state. You did not, be this moment. You're over there, you're out there, you're making these chemical peptides, you're acting this way, you have to see it this way. And it's like, but wait, how can I interrupt this pattern? And a lot of times when you're stressed, you can't interrupt the pattern. But that's part of waking up, is that you have the ability to wake up your pattern. So when you're looking at your mother wound, it isn't about going, it's their fault, and I respond this way, they react that way. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, go back home and watch how you become a teenager again. How they become the parent, and you're like, but I can't talk back. Yeah, and it's in it being held in your back, or you don't have a voice and you have throat chakra issues. But part of your growth pattern is to, but why? Why? You know? And so it begins, as that song says. And one of the things that they're telling me is that, like, I woke up super freaking early, like I said, but I felt like I had tons of sleep. But I could feel the stomach meridian from 7 to 9 kick in, and we have a brand new day. And I'm like, I have a brand new day? Yes, I do. So I laid there and I did my MWS tribal basics. And as I'm, zipping up and putting my consciousness to my heart, my spirit said, stop. Before you put your consciousness into your heart, I want you to listen to that disconnected space. And it's like, I hate them. I hate them. And I said, what? But towards myself, I hated their behavior. I hated their tone. I hated that person. My heart was not going to let me love. And so I muscle tested and I did everything. And I'm like, oh my God, this part is not there. And I have got this chemical peptide that I hate them. I've gotten to the point where I was so pushed into behaving a certain way. And I had to stop and I had to heal. And in the stomach, it was like, and I don't even sure what the word is for it because I have all these emotions that are related to the stomach. And so I was just feeling the experiences, but it was that disconnect that I mean, my body and everything believed I hated this. I says, but is it true? Says my spirit. So I'm holding, right wrist, second position soft. So if you really feel like, oh my God, feel ungrounded or your nerves are being taxed and they're ungrounding you to make you behave because you're in a good space and they're like, no, I've got shit that needs to be done. I need you to do it. And you're like, what? You have to change course. And it was like, oh, once I got the chemicals peptides broken down, I was hearing how anxious comes in because it's anxious is knowing that they're going to do it to you again. And then it was like, yeah, but what is this consciousness to the heart? It's disconnected and I can feel this. And seeing, and it's important to get details so I can teach you to see it. And you're like, oh, I don't have to go through all the basics. I just need to connect my consciousness to my heart. And I'm like, so I was measuring it and yeah, it's true. It's true. I really, but this is what I was doing towards myself. It became a habit, such a habit as a child, teenager, all this. I love them and hate them. I'll take care of them and it'll feel like it's a prison duty. When is my term up? And then when I'm released, I can go have a life. But I was listening how I was talking to myself, listening to the habit, listening to how I was talking, and listening to how I hated it. And I could feel my body hurting. And I'm like, I hate it. I mean, I am stewing to the point where my gallbladder energy that's supposed to be working basically was not functioning. And I couldn't process. And what I couldn't process, and this was supposed to be love, okay? But if you understand the gallbladder is supposed to help you make digestive enzymes to break down fat. And if your body can't break down fat, then you're going to have a whole host of different things happen. And as the gallbladder, as I'm feeling this, and I'm like, oh, so I thought, what the heck? Well, gallbladder energy was stuck in my stomach. So I can't digest. I can't do this. I don't want to do this again. And it's me wanting to run. I could feel I was in the run mode. It's the way you grew up. Okay. I was in the run mode. I can't do this. And this is a very crucial part because, see, my gallbladder got removed. And it is how that person that I love is in front of me. And whatever they say, whatever their nocebo effect is, whatever their gaslighting, whatever it is, their needs, they need to get met. And they're looking at me as the one to solve them. I can be happy go lucky, but they need their needs met. And they're like, you're in the room. Their name is on the tip of my tongue. And then they'll go to whatever heights they need to get their needs met. Now, again, I thought, well, this is malicious, as a kid, but it's not. Because when they need their needs met, they're usually in a shit show. Now, if you could balance their shit show, then their needs would already be met. And so I'm like, I'm not confused, but I'm looking at these pieces and I said, so I have an automatic response to when they're in their shit shows. I have an automatic response. These buttons need to be removed when they need their needs met and they're super focused and on me. And I was always the cheerleader. I was always the savior. I mean, not that I wanted to, but I was like, that's what you're born to do. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what you know in your soul that you're supposed to do. What? But it's these habits that are towards myself that I would sit there and I'd be like, oh, okay. And I'd be stewing and brewing. I'd smile at them, but I would be no home. I would be in my shit show. So now you got two people in their shit shows and one's looking at the other and it's just very much like if you go to it'd be like static electricity. And this is what's called love. And I'm building up this intolerance tubes. I'm done. I'm done. And so it begins. And it's like, wait a minute. You're saying it's not just so it begins is that we're having this light that we're going to have all this good stuff. It is it begins that we're going to have to end some relationships that no longer serve us. And that is where you could become a very dangerous person to somebody. Dangerous sounds nasty, but it's not. It is when you have this independence that you're okay to lose them. And they think you need them more than they need you. But if you don't need the person, you can move on. And so it begins. I'm now realizing that we want changes. We want this to stop. We don't like that. Oh, but where does it begin? In you. And so it begins. And what does it begin? Hate has to end with me. I have to stop seeing it. I have to stop seeing these programs. I have to stop seeing everybody in the shit. And so I have to change the way I knew my conditioning. It's up to me. So when I could feel these negative energies in spaces in my body that not meant to be, that's called invading energies. Because again, I'm a healer, a teacher healer, and I can teach you many things how to do this. And so as you can relieve it and disconnect it and change it. But you have to witness to understand these particular emotions. So you're not in your shit show trying to, look at it. No, I need you to listen with your higher self, become more your higher self, and witness and observe. And so as me and my husband had a great time yesterday. We went to the showgrounds for the showdowns, whatever. It's about footy. And anyways, we had a good time. But as I'm listening to all of these things and I'm watching, I could see, how do I want to put this? Because it just slipped my mind. These different ways of being. And it's like the word police. People are always watching you. Somebody's watching you. And you always feel like the anxiety. Oh, that's it. The anxiety song. And first of all, don't claim it. Don't say my anxiety. Just no. You're observing it as anxiety. And it's the future. It's nothing happening. But some people say anxiety is that people are watching me. But that is a paranoia, which means that it is the governing meridian that starts basically in the taint, goes up your back, and then comes here. So you can learn to draw, and then you don't want to feel vulnerable. You can learn to draw. So you learn to draw this egg. You can hook it up. You can trace it. You can strengthen it. You can put your finger in the belly button and forehead, lift chin up and head up, smile. And you hold it for about 2 minutes, and it looks stupid because if you've never done it before, you're like, well, I don't look like an idiot. So that's paranoia. And people are like, no, paranoia means that somebody's bad. No, paranoia needs to be seen. What happens is that you're talking about the archetype. AI says heartfelt healing journey. AI says teenage therapy, healing and humor. That's funny. You have to understand you're playing an archetype, and usually you'll be a child of many faces, and you can choose whichever child. But the child, have you grown out of that child archetype? You have a victim, saboteur, and prostitute, and meaning less than, selling yourself short. These are very to the top because as I'm doing towards myself, I'm sabotaging myself. But do I need to? My littles haven't grown because they're still feeling hurt or they're feeling that they're alone. They, I have to look at this. Am I being this child archetype? So our emotional quotient, the EQ, has to rise. The mental quotient needs to rise. I'm not talking about intelligence of reading books, but to find definitions and changing the way that you have to keep watching and copying how people did it as a child. Go to the universal dictionaries, go to the universal of, and this is why AI is important to some degree to come in and to help you understand a different perspective. But you need to sit and decide what mindset you're in, what mood are you in, what archetype are you in, what are you in if it's less than love. Now, I was in a love space, but I had this energy that needed to be resolved. So I went into an automatic response and I'm looking at myself going, there's the button. Now, I'm not going to keep asking, why is there a button and how is that button? Because then I'm just going to tell the universe to keep delivering it. But I'm going to say, I'm going to use my energy to dissolve the button. I'm going to use my energy to see that I don't need to keep attracting it in. So as I started to, instead of going, why, which says, universe, give me more of that. Ugh. No, cancel, clear, delete, call my energy back. I have the energy that displaces or I can change it. So part of me was that I had to make sure I was in my fixed state, not the emotion, not the people around me, not the idea or the threat or the fear. So I, Brenda Jean Power, is 57. And I take my hand off and I keep doing this. And I do it about 3 to 10 times so I can come into my fixed state, not my littles, not my saboteurs, not my right here and now. I'm in my now. So as I put myself in my fixed state, I was looking at my heart. And so I thought, okay, I'll connect my consciousness to my heart. Now, consciousness means the creator of all that is that part of you that helps you live in the principles of life. And so I'm connecting this consciousness to my heart. Okay. And as I'm doing this, I'm lifting off, starting my forehead, going back. As I'm doing this, and then I had to connect my heart to my consciousness. So it's a two-way street, right? And as I did that, the question I had asked before I connected my consciousness is that I really hate this person. I really hate this. And it was yes. But that was my separated self. So as I started to do this and put my heart back in and I revisited that question, oh, no, you don't have to believe your own BS. I could feel the complete difference of how I was restricted, controlled, limited in a program, and it was real and it was just, ugh. And then when I put and connected, that's why the tribal basics, and you can always go to YouTube and watch them for free, has no sound deliberately. But when you go and you start to kick out their energies, okay, and you kick out their energies, and all of a sudden you're left with your energy. You have to understand, you don't create and destroy, you have to call back. So as I'm calling back my energies, and you always imagine it going through a purple heart with dancing violet flames. And as you do this, all of a sudden, whoa, it's like your brain gets to turn on and you look at things so differently. And I'm like, whoa, in one breath, 1 second before I hated it. And the next minute was like, my heart says, no, you're whole. This is what you do not have to be your program and you don't have to be designed. And I'm listening to how towards myself, it's because they're this, it's because of that, it's because of that, it's because of the conclusions, assumptions, conclusions, setting yourself up and convincing yourself that you have to stay here because they need you. You have to stay here because there's nobody else for them. You have to stay here because that's what you're designed for. You have to. Really? Well, nobody else is going to. Or I have to because I have nowhere to go. I have to because I don't have enough education. I have to because I don't know how to take care of myself. I have to. When I go and I help people and they don't think of those things, I'll say, well, what happens if that person is gone? maybe not dead, but moved away, how would you function? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I don't want to think about it. And then that day, that if you don't take care of it, you don't ask these questions, you don't have to ask in fear, but you do need to have some knowledge. Otherwise, you're going to be scrambling. See, this is why people are like, well, I don't need to learn this until it's time. And then it's time, and all of a sudden now you're scrambling and you feel like it's chaos and you can't stop it. That's the problem. So how do you know you need to know something? Is to pay attention. How do you learn to know something that you didn't even need to know? Pay attention with your spirit. As I listened to the conclusions, I healed those out by the experience that says this is the self-talk when you feel that you're limited. And this becomes the life you carve, and it gets smaller and smaller. Life becomes unfair. Where is love? You have to sacrifice. You have to do all these things, which is not true when you are your whole self. So the mother wounds is that it's the mother part of you, the and you do parental, the yin and the yang, but it is when you're conditioned. I don't care if it's male or female that had to mother you. I'm not arguing that. I'm saying when you were a child, and can you see how they were in their wounds? Because now you're grown up and you still have your wounds. They're still their wounds. But why do we have to keep growing up and having wounds? Why can't we just grow up and have resolve to evolve? Why can't we just live by the wisdom so we can pass that on? And not everybody wants your wisdom. That's fine, because not everybody's in the same boat or they have the same heart. But as you begin to hold a different frequency, more and more of the old doesn't have to repeat itself. So you don't have to repeat history. History will be repeated if you emotionally stay connected so far into it that your brain is the only thing that starts to keep reproducing. You can't see reality without your brain. You need the brain, which is not you, but the brain that's programmed to put that energy here, see it with that lens, feel it with this emotion, and then the body has to act accordingly to the environment. I hope you all can understand what I'm talking about. So be aware that this time and age is about that wisdom, but you can't get the wisdom until you heal out the negative emotions and all the ways that it's looked at, because the wisdom is locked into this experience, and it's one wisdom, but it's locked into all these experiences. And as you unlock these emotions and you get yourself out of that shit show and you balance that brain, your frontal lobe will change the habits, and then it'll change, especially toward yourself. And when you change these things, what happens? You can see more clearly with your whole self, not with your half self, not with your hurt self, not with your program self, or you have become them, that self. So if you're looking to wake up, I highly suggest you go to Medicine Woman Solution, that's Soultion, and look at that one video. And I think it's highlighted on my main page. Mindset Makeover Madness. Oh, that's interesting that I said that. But watch it. It's going to be in silent, because again, when you're in your stressed, you are not you. You are not your higher self. You are not connected to your heart and your consciousness. You're not any of that stuff. You are those living, breathing programs that are the realities to what you've experienced, and they don't need to dictate the future or control your now. You with me? Your inner world changes, and so does your outer world. Absolutely, because your inner world creates your outer world. But your inner world, and people do not seem to understand this, and it needs to be educated out there, that the brain is an amazing tool. You will only interpret what you think you hear and see based on the definitions you have. Oops. Okay. This is why everybody has like a secret code. Like you got the man card, you got the woman's secrets, you have the different races. So whatever color you are, you have your different races. And we want all these other races to see what's happening with the other races. We need to all wake up to it and say, we want to stop this, because if it's promoting hate, or if it's promoting limitations, or if it's promoting pain and suffering, then we're going to keep doing the same thing. But we're looking for the wisdom. We're not denying that experience is happening. It is changing the emotional chemical peptide that says this has to keep happening. But to make change is to change the way that chemical is telling you. And when you can connect to your higher self, and when you connect to that consciousness of love, you can see a different answer. So we can give a different answer with support, love, and we can rise. So part of that feminine energy that's coming in is to wake up and say, whoa, I've been asleep too long. And it isn't about fighting back. It's about changing that emotional chemical peptide, because women, you understand, if you look at science and the way the brain is, the way the emotion is, the way it starts with you. And where are we moving to? Alpha, beta? No, sigma. We're moving to unity, but to get to unity, you have to see and then integrate, but you have to resolve to evolve basically the chemical peptides, because we can't get out of believing our own crap. If we're in that mindset, this is the way it looks. We're going to make sure everybody knows it, blah, blah, blah. And then on the next day, you could be the mood changes. And it's not, it just means that you as a soul is waking up going, do I need to believe every emotional chemical peptide I create? Do I have to always see life as unfair? Well, here's your shit, and then you wouldn't, it changes. Trust me, is that when you change the emotional chemical peptide, which is these keys that lock into the receptors of your cells, and you have 50 trillion cells, you are a community of cells. And when those emotional chemical peptides get locked in, do you honestly need to be this program? No, because your cell's like, well, we got to obey this. But if somebody's home and you're observing differently, without judgment, but with discernment, you can literally change your cells. You can change your reality. Your reality is, that's which mindset you're in. What reality is like when you're hearing a song and you're like jamming to it, and you interpreted the words you believe, and you're like, that's it. Somebody comes along and like, those aren't the words. And you're like, yes, it is. No, it's not. And then all of a sudden you hear different words and you're like, oh, I can hear what they're saying. Well, I must be wrong. They may be right. And then you go and you look up the lyrics and you're like, we're both wrong. And that's what it says. The brain is always lying to you, but it's not lying to you. You are not there to listen. I'm teaching you as the spirit being, connected with your heart, coming in as your whole self, can see the world completely different instead of black or white. It's up to you. It really is. So I decided that, I don't need to do this towards the self thing. But what I had to hear was how I was convincing myself to have to do the job that they're asking, or to get their needs met. I'm like, oh my God, this is the pattern I've had ever since I was a kid. It's part of the mothership. It's part of the mother wound. Now, if you're like, well, she didn't give me anything. Okay, let me tell you, you can go to my website, Medicine Woman Solution, that's Soultion, and you can look up.com, and you can look up the healing tools. And I would do cord switching, because this can help you. I would do sensory accessing with your mother, not her in the room, but you going, oh, my mother said this, looks like that. Don't give me that tone. Blah, blah, blah. You start to measure. The key is measuring. Here you got the subject, here you got the emotion. But if you work with the body about how it was programmed, you can unprogram it. And the wisdom starts to pop. We're looking for the wisdom. We don't have to say, oh my God, that's my story. I'm going to label it. I'm going to keep the label. We don't want you to label it. We want you to understand it, but we want you to heal, to resolve, to evolve. Don't be the label. Okay? All right. So who do we have coming on to the show today? We have Amy. She is paid. She is coming on. You can do the same thing. You can have video. Oh, I don't want to do video. I'm so self-conscious. Whatever. You can do audio. It's 25. But you're worth it. I'm not going to be here for Easter next week. So you may need a healing now. I'm available. You can have chat. That's $15. You can have do it for $5, or you can do a pay it forward, and whatever you want. Give somebody a gift, however you choose to do this. PIF is a pay it forward. So I won't be here for Easter. because I'm going to be celebrating. You know, I'm going to take in time for me. Oops, I didn't open it up. So now I just have to wait for everything to come in. It'll take a few minutes. Yes, it is. Oh, okay. So we have somebody that's paid. There we go. We have a reading from Mom. So we have, oops. So we put in the chat, we have Mom, Sandy. Let's just put Sandy first, then me, so Pam. We are at Jen's. Hi, everybody at Jen's. Dog sitting. Aw, you got puppies, huh? She is heading back on the train. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. You're babysitting the dogs at Jen's house. She said, oh, okay. So if you can wait on her after, yeah, no problem. She just let me know when she's in the room and we can, I just lost my page. Also I got to fix this puzzle piece here. And let's see, did I do it? Yes. All right, train, be on time. Whatever spirit wants. You got it. You got it. You got it. Oh, Jen is here now. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, so I have Sandy, Pam, and Jen. I have Amy. We're looking around to see if there's anybody else. Okay. So what I want you guys to understand is that this stuff that's in April is going to be deep. So what does your soul want you to know? What does your soul want you to do? Oh, and somebody says, I sent you a message yesterday. Okay, so if that's on TikTok, Facebook, I didn't see it. I have to look. I'll just let you know. Again, if you get a reading, you can go over to YouTube and rewatch it. You know, make a comment, thumbs up, be great. However you choose to do it, but you can. But it'll be time stamped by the clock that's behind me. On the other ones, you can't see it, but on the live video on YouTube, you'll be able to see it. Okay, and I got the time right. Changed it like I was supposed to. Australia had their time change, and I had to change it accordingly. Okay, I wore pink for Easter, and it's like, I thought about purple and lavender, but we're gonna, the changing. Okay, now this is interesting. This is like old information. So I feel, because we're gonna do Sandy, I feel somebody, I have to wait. They're telling me someone on the other side is coming through, and but I have to wait. I'm not understanding why they're telling me to wait. That's okay. That's okay. We're gonna wait just a moment, and I don't know if it's an anniversary, or if it's a birthday or whatever, but you know, like when you go to the airport and somebody goes, hey, you're home, welcome home, or when you're you go to somebody's house and it says happy birthday, there's a banner. And so they're having some type of sign for Sandy. And I feel quite a few loved ones, and again, only one can come up to the mic, but there's at least 12 people. Do you have concerns about dying and going to the other side? They said, when it's your time, don't worry, it'll be a party. It's not right now, but you have concerns. So Sandy, do you have concerns about what's this going to be like? One of the things is that there will be a party. They said it's like when somebody has a baby and everybody's like, welcome into the world, you know, and they're happy for that baby. And it's the same from what they're saying is that when you die, it's like you're being born back in there, and they're all excited that, you know, they're going to have a party, you know. Okay. If you're concerned about that, that's one of the things they're saying is don't be concerned. Some. Okay. Okay. Who's here? Okay, so somebody just stepped to the mic. She looks like a woman. So I'm feeling that it could be an aunt or a mom, but they're showing me many different faces into one. So I'm assuming that has to do with an epigenetic. Okay. So they said, hey, this is what you can heal before you pop over here. You know, you got a long time because we don't have due time, but to you, don't worry that, oh, we scared her and it's it's going to happen any day. No, that's not true. Hold on. I have to solve this little mystery thing with my, unable to verify it. So I picked, this is match the shapes. So you can't use letters, shapes. There's no shapes. You have two T's. Okay. And I did a double D and it said no. Oh, please try again. I see an 8. Oh, Jesus. Let's do it again. They're not allowing me. So I may have to start over because okay, so this is a sign. You're clicking on it. It's telling you you need to do this. And you're like, so I did. And you're like, you're telling me it's wrong. What are you talking about? See, he's unable to verify. Please try again. So there's miscommunication in something. And I'm not sure. So when they use letters and numbers and tell you to click on the shapes and there's no other shapes, they say can't verify. So the last time they gave me 2 circles and square, triangle, and that. So I clicked on the 2 circles. This time, no numbers. So you're following the instructions to what's given, but they're not giving you all the information. So who's not giving you all the information? I don't know. So being that said, there's 3. Oh, now there's 2. There's 3. Oh, she's back up. So you have 3 people that represent the feminine energy. So you may have known them as an aunt, a mother, whatever, a niece or something, whatever, these 3. They said, well, we have all something in common. And I said, okay, go ahead. And they said, these particular wounds. I said, all right. So it gets passed down. They said, yes. And they said it has to do with the RTJP. So it's the right temporal junction parietal lobe. That means that you're supposed to think what other people think. You're supposed to think what maybe they think. So they says we have, maybe they're thinking this, maybe they're thinking that, and we jump to conclusions. Now, you got it down pat where you automatically go, well, they thought this, they're doing this. I don't like this. I don't like that. They says, are you aware that you have a conversation in your head and not really have a conversation with people sometimes? Can you feel that you can already predict or you can, assume about that? Okay. I don't know who this is, but somebody with Laura, whatever. That may not be the name, but I've never usually get names. That was strong. Somebody, so it's a feminine. Okay, so we're going a little bit further, and there is this, when you begin to feel incompatible, when you feel like something's out of sorts, when you feel annoyed, you automatically think what other people think. You automatically go in there. They says that's part of where you need to stop. And is it true that you got to think about that you got to think that way about them? It's so ingrained in you. Is she following? Is she following? She says, when you get here, you're actually forgiven. You will forgive for what you've done. You'll forgive them for what they've done. You will begin to experience the feels of what it feels like to be on the receiving end. You will be that other person. And one person said, you have been displaying your parents for so long, which means you, as the child, have become so angry because you were the mother before you had kids. But at the same time, you are also feeling there's this, you're showing me some part of your brain that keeps repeating a story. Are you with me? Are you following anything here? They want you to begin to understand the jealousy that has been this thread. So that means you have to look up what jealousy is. What does it sound like? What's it feel like? And they said, if you can get into the feels, don't just say it's not me. She doesn't really get it. Can she follow the word jealousy? Is what I'm curious about. Oh, no, that is so weird because I can't see. So there's something you can't see because the words on my page, the things that are right underneath my nose, I can no longer see. So that is a sign that you can't see something, but they said you can feel. I said, all right, what does she feel? Lack of power. Lack of power. She says, can you find that, yes, you have jealousy, but can you feel that you have the lack of power? If you can really identify that you have the lack of power and that you'll build up and you'll build this up and all of a sudden you'll exert your power. You can see I have lack of power. And then to explode, to exert the power, they said that this can be the beginning of helping you start to relieve some of this buildup that happens in your body. They want you to go left wrist, second position, deep. Okay, L2D. And when you are saying, thank you, Spirit, show me what jealousy is, the one thing is that we're always to say, we're not jealous, we're not any of that, but it is to understand the words and when your body and when your muscles and when your body goes into self-preservation, when somebody else is jealous or when you watch something on TV or you, because it's your littles that are, you got really jealous about something at 7, then they want you to go right wrist, third position, deep, R3D. Well, she can't see because the thing she needs to see is right underneath her nose. And when you're, how do you want to explain? When you don't see the very thing you need to see, you will feel like you're blind. It's not just that I don't want to see it, which is one angle that I see, is that I don't want to see it anymore. So her brain tells her eyes, don't look. If it's underneath her nose and she can't see it, it is, well, one thing I'm hearing is I'm losing the thing that I love. She doesn't want to see the people she loves go. So if she's like crocheting and she can't see to crochet and she loves that, she can't see anymore. It's like, I've lost my purpose. Okay. So you're losing your loves. You don't want to see that you lose your love. So again, we're looking at these different angles of why she can't see. But the one thing, yeah, is that she has lost the ability to self-regulate. So she just is this big ball of emotions. If she can catch that I can't regulate these emotions. They really piss me off. Then grab your left wrist, second position, soft. Okay. Notice when you want to scream or you want to go, oh, I hate that. And I'm going to highly suggest you start to make sure you do the triple or the basics, the tribal basics, the connecting of the consciousness to the heart. Because when that is disconnected, you can't feel love. And putting your spirit back in your body so you can be present with love is another one. But be in her fixed state, she becomes all the things that she thinks about. She is losing who she is because she's so focused on my happiness is not here. And she keeps telling the universe, I'm looking at how my happiness is not here. So she has a hard time being here, having any happiness. Just start with the points I gave and go from there. Okay. You guys, because you're the kids of this woman, you can look and see if any of that applies to you. You can see if it applies to, you want to stop this epigenetic type thing, if that makes sense to you. And opening up to the very thing that you're like, but I'm not jealous. And when we were kids, that's fine. You don't want to be accused of it. You don't want to know that. But understanding the feeling of envious, I want that, the resentment that somebody else has. You were taught as a kid that you can't have that. You have to do this. And you're like, but I want that. And so instead of healing so you can just say, okay, I'm going to go get that, you have taught yourself that you'll never get that. And whatever that is over there is where you need to really look at R3D. They have, I don't. Okay. but it's in the feels, it's in the experience. Now we're going to look at Pam. Oops, I lost my screen. Shit. Hold on. I can't. Where is it? This one. Yes, now I can look. Okay, thank you. Okay. All right. Also before we go, they're screaming, I love you. And so notice that you got support from the other side. Miss Pam. Conjunction, junction, what's your function? Looking up. Okay. So teacher, it is the teachings. And do you remember those old what are they? Little TV quibs they were. Anyways, what I'm looking at is that as a teacher, you have all of this science, concrete facts, information. Okay. And oh my God. Um, did you ever scorn anybody with that knowledge? Do you understand what I'm saying before I go any further? Because they're like, you can understand why they don't get it. Just feel like, you know, and you can stand back and somebody that comes up to you, and I don't know if it's the children that you've taught or whoever, and maybe, but all of a sudden they'll start thinking that they know the answer and they'll give that information, and you're looking at them going, but the facts are, and you don't know it. And you know, and so you'll try to educate them, but what is it you can't do? You just, that phrase, I don't know, I can't remember. It's something about stupid, but anyways, it's like, but at the same time you're letting it get to you. Do you understand? I don't know if this is a very old you, I don't know if you're doing it now, but it's happening. So give me feedback, because spirit's going down the road of you just don't want to feel it. You don't want to think it. You're like, here we go again. And I feel like you've had this pattern come up many times. But to be a teacher, you've had to put things on the back burner. You're not, you have to be professional. So you had to do what with the emotions? You had to do what with that thinking? So that's what they're looking at. What did you have to do when you were feeling like, oh my gosh, very overwhelmed, or you're feeling, is that, or you feel like you're being manipulated, or so you may not even be aware of these patterns. But what they're bringing up is that you did not believe, yeah, the old you, I think. Remember, we're healing so you can have a good future. You wanted to make sure you never felt deficient again. So you went after all the knowledge possible. Never going to feel deficient again. That was like, I can do this. Now, you're just, this is going to be difficult. Displaying your parent. So what behavior did you learn from mom and dad that you would be displaying to others that you don't want to do anymore, or you don't feel you need to do anymore? So you're not aware of those. Remember, anything in the past that you do, even if you feel like you've moved on, they will come back up as a test. And if you are spiritually awakening to you're responding in a certain way, you feel the emotions have you act a certain way, I want you to be spiritually aware and become observant that you did it. This can be tough because I watch people, and including myself and whatever, and they'll say, oh my gosh, this has happened. And then next week, oh my God, this has happened. And the next week, and I'm like, do you see the pattern? You're doing it every week. No, this always happens. I go, it's not that that's necessarily always happens, but why is it necessary to keep doing this? it gives you a great story, gives you something to talk about, but you can nip certain things in the bud. So I said, in this case for Pam, what are we going to do? As you are learning to become more self-conscious, not, oh, I'm self-conscious and insecurity and that. No, I'm becoming conscious of myself. And as you're becoming conscious of yourself, meaning, oh my gosh, this is how I act, this is how my mood is, this is how I like things, consciousness of the self. So you're using your ability of awareness. Now, what's happening is that you're noticing the body stress modes. Wait, what is stress modes? Fight, flight, freeze. I'm pretty good. But as you're waking up and you're like feeling good, in 2 seconds, you can be stressed. Dog barks, whatever. Okay. So you're meant to wake up when you're being pulled by the environment. What would be your normal reaction to react? So just as you're feeling the trigger, buttons pushed, see if you can say thank you, Spirit, for the pause. As you're about ready to knee-jerk react, stop. Do your best to see if that's how you really want to react. See, you're waking up as your spirit self, getting to pause to say, I normally would do this and then just do this and then back to this. But they're saying, I want you to pay attention to how the emotions or how you're pulled into reactions or how you're pulled into thinking. Because part of your gift is to pay attention to what's going on in there. Okay. So if I said to look at this, they said, have her understand stress. Like right now, your body will be stressed, but your mind is not. Your emotions are not. Because that's part of the overcoming. But if somebody was to do something, your body would become stressed because it's so used to it. And you then have thoughts because you felt, and you need to become aware of how those thoughts just pop up about what you just experienced. It's a process. It's a process. You can do it. Because they said the first thing would be, do you need to worry? Is worry in your language? Is worry in your... People are like, oh, I'm worried. But worry, you need to be your investigating word. My mother would worry and then place that on me, and then I'd have to fix it. My mother, when I paid attention to worry, it would be, I'm concerned and I need to get that answer fixed. If I'm worrying because I can't do anything about it and I have to wait for time, then I'm going to be impatient and I'm going to worry. So do you need to drop yourself into anything of worry? Okay, so there is no connection. She says, I don't think I'm a worrier. I don't see that. Okay, so again, as you begin to learn your ability to be aware of yourself in programs, your wisdom, your consciousness is going to become aware, as if to say, I'm going to stop. Let's say, so this is you. Okay, so this is me. Okay, so here's me. And I can't see my face unless I have a mirror. But I'm going to watch myself as a spirit. So this is me. So now I'm here watching myself. I'm like, why did I do that? And I'm going to learn how to be conscious of knowing how I think and act and be. And this is like, if you've never watched it, you may want to record yourself sometime and feel what the ultimate observer feels like. Somebody's watching me. And you alter your behavior because you're being watched. And you are aware that you are being watched. So you will watch your P's and Q's. So when you watch your P's and Q's, you're going to act differently than So that person that you know is watching you, and you have to be in the best behavior, and now they've left, you can act the way you want to want to. But you have to pay attention to your thoughts and how they're divided up. How are you putting your thoughts into things? So I'm going to watch about like something happened. What is my response? What is my thoughts? Really learning about the emotional words will help you to define where you're divided up, because to have these are all emotions, and we only operate usually with love, fear, hate, sadness, and hurt. Um, no, we have a wide variety of emotions. Now, what is it that she can see, that she can begin to see? Do you have low self-esteem when it comes to doing things, dating, going on TV, talking about a subject you don't know, conscious of the way you look? So can you identify difference between self-esteem and low self-esteem? It can be connected to safety, security, stability, sanity, serenity, and space, which is no freedom. And to become observant as your spiritual self of noticing where you put your life force and decide if you want to put it there. So again, this is not something that's easy to do, but if you can become aware of how you're observing, participating, if you can become aware, and this is why the tools of healing and why like we do tribal is so you slowly can become aware. So like Spirit had me have a video set up, and so I was recording like from a nanny cam, and so when I would interact, all of a sudden I could see the realism. I forgot all about it, and then Spirit goes, "Oh, let's watch that back." Especially like I was recording something and I was reading a book to my children because I was going on vacation, and I couldn't take them with me, and it was like, oh. And so my stress, the 24/7, and my stress of my voice, and so curt and so short. And as I'm listening to the video, and I'm like, oh, and I'm listening to myself, the awareness of my tension in my throat, my stress, I'm thinking, I'm not like that, but I have video proof. And so I have proof. And it's not to shame myself or hurt myself, but it is to go, I needed to see what I couldn't see. I needed to hear what I couldn't hear. I'm hearing how other people hear me. Now, that's a huge thing, because if somebody says to me, well, did you hear how mean you were to me? Their program is saying I can't show up to them any way they want them. But I also have to be responsible. What was my tone? What was my tactic? What words did I use? So then my responsibility is in that present moment. Make sense? My AI says emotional detox. It's funny. Okay. Oh, all right. We'll see you tomorrow in Tribal. Sounds good? Yes? Okay. Now we're going to look at Jen now. Now, Miss Jen, is it just spirit? Because Pam, when you finally get to do this, when you finally get to see something, because you're like, oh, I can see I've done something. So that's your biggest homework. You need to write it down. But if you start to notice there's an emotion that you can't regulate, then I'm going to say, I want you to become aware, oh my gosh, I can't regulate this emotion. I'm very angry. I can't regulate this emotion. And then I want you to take left wrist, second position, soft. Okay? Very important. But you're at the learning to see stage, and that's going to help you go deeper. All right, Jen. Jen. Miss Jen. Oh. Okay. How quick is it easy for you to go into contempt? And a lot of people misunderstand this word, so I'm going to give a few minutes to help people understand this word, okay? Oops, I had it open. Good one, Brent. You're doing your thing, and another human being contempt is often mistaken as your facial expression, a slight raise or tightened of one corner of lips, like, and the eyes are rolling or dismissive tone of voice, sarcastic remarks, or conveys feeling of superiority or disdain. You're just, have you done this today? Or have you, with your fear, seen people do this and you're afraid they're going to do it to you? Or have you got a picture that they're always doing it to you? This automatic flippant reaction from people can hurt. And if you have something where you have it and you're doing it to them, you know, we have to look at this, because when I feel you're receiving this, guess where it goes? Your kidneys. So who rolls their eyes? Who gets disgusted? Who gives you that facial expression? Who has done this? And your part of you is crushed. You with me? You understand what I'm saying? Because one of the things is that it's not just the face and the gestures, because those speak loud. And then there's the words that can really hurt. But it's the energy, like I was saying, the energy. When I was talking about this morning, it's just this energy that somebody has about them. And it is so, I guess the best way, if I ask Spirit, how would you feel if it wasn't just the facial and all of this? How does it feel? And it feels like it's very pokey, it's very rocky, it's very mean, it's very, they're right, I'm wrong. It's very, so when I'm feeling this, it feels like they're too prickly and you can't get close, or you're knowing they're judging you and you're like, oh my God, and why can't I just be me? So like the song Messy, you know, I'm too perfect, I'm too this, and I show you that I'm not perfect, and then you show me this, and then oh my God, you know, just it's like this, why can't I just be me? And you're caught up into their story and those emotions to trying to prove that you're not, that you can't really be you, because your energy is lost into how they control the room with those emotions. And you desperately want their love. Does those words mean anything? I know she's here. She said I'm here, but you know, you got to think about it. And it's like, but again, you may not know this. You may not know this, right? Do you remember when we went and saw this famous person that talks to the dead? I can't remember her name. Williams, I may, Lisa, maybe. And there's, I realized that the dead's talking to me, and I'm standing there and they're talking, and you're like, but that's your mother and father-in-law. And I'm like looking at you like, what? And then it hit me. You're right. So it may not come to you now. But when somebody has this contempt, can you feel the tension? Can you feel the walls? When you have to sit in that space with them, can you feel it draining? Because you are. Just like with Pam and your mother, you're following along in this RTJP to think what other people think. They're thinking this, and they're giving me this, and so I'm going to give them this. And so it becomes an emotional war. maybe not necessarily words in your head, but you can feel tension. You can feel this. Your body is in stress mode. You need to become aware of it because the body, when it's in stress mode, you're like, I don't want to let them down, or I'm sour graping, or I have to bitch about it, or I feel this, I feel that. Your will doesn't know what to do. It starts to build false realities. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. It's because of this, it's because of that. A lot of your life force gets wrapped up in these programs. When you, Pam, and your mom re-listen to this, I need you to pay attention to like each word I'm saying. Why? Because each word builds upon what I'm teaching, what spirit is actually saying. Gestures. Gestures speak louder than actual words. And you can feel it when they're doing it behind your back. You're like, oh, I can just feel them giving me that gesture. Tone. Well, doesn't even have to be a word. Don't look at me with that tone. You feel those, but you also can't figure out how to resolve those. So it becomes this state of emotions that becomes the war. You're afraid to lose love. You want to keep love. You got to do this. You got to sacrifice that. And so when you're holding these, it's like, you have, first of all, you build false realities. I don't even know if you're able to understand when you do that. If you can do that, it's L3S. But you've got to look at when this energy is in the room. You're going to have to make sure you do those tribal basics and kick those out. And when they come in, you may have to treasure chest them into the treasure chest. Or you feel them and it makes you're gonna have to do the healing tool picking yourself up with the floor. It's the same for Pam. Pam, she's learning, and she's got this protective things up, but she can get really drained by somebody's words. And it is the energy that causes this displacement. So when you and have to be around people, you and Pam both can hold R3S because you can feel this pressure from these emotions that can displace your happiness, and it can duress you into having to respond and do and be. And you're like, what the F and A? Again, R3S can really help you because, and you're fortunate to have your mom. And I'm so happy that you have that you have your mom. And I love it that you are able to, and she's willing to do some healings, and you're doing some healings, that all three of you can start to grow, and it's beautiful. It really is. But the healings are very important. Take your words. And I said, if there's any specific word like other people have had, yours is definitely worried. You definitely use worry. But because you're a close-knit family, you're going to feel these things. You share these things. And without realizing, when that energy you feel, you're doing those emotions, even though you don't really know you're doing those emotions. You all have to learn to, especially if you're doing the tribal basics, breaking that up and realizing that that is maybe their emotion. It's not about blaming. It's not about going, oh, it's about, wait a minute. Do I need to take this on? Do I need to be this? Okay. I'll let you take it at that. Let's look a little bit further and let's see if anybody else has paid. You're more than welcome to. So we have Lisa Myers. Where are you at? Which room are you in, Miss Lisa? Got a locator. Ah, I see her. Are you still here? I see Lisa Louise. Okay, let me know you're here. And what is it that you would like me to address or zoom in on? Okay. We're looking for Lisa Myers. She's on Facebook. I don't know if she's still here. She's not. I'd like to make sure that you get your reading. Hopefully it made sense to you guys. Hi. Okay. Do you want me to address any concerns, anything you're focused on, anything, you know, um, I feel like you've got something, and if not, spirit will come up with something. But okay. What do I need to do in preparation to go inside the mountain? To go inside the mountain? Oh, wow. All right. Hmm. What's weird is I just heard the word mental, but then I heard the word handicapped. And I says, what are you talking about? Does she have one? No. There's this, so we're going to look at the mental thought pattern. It's going to be the definitions and things like this that you need to understand to, so what is your intention for going inside the mountain? How are you going to do these things? Do you have an expectation? Because to see, they don't want you to be tunneled. They want you to be observant, and they want you to, instead of expectant, but be in expectancy to expect. And if you put and say, thank you, Spirit, for showing me something greater than me, you can have an amazing experience. I said, what else? There's a part of you that has two things that's happening. What about me? Feeling like you're left behind, or like everybody's going to be, they're handing out stuff and you'll be missed. And what about me? So you have this energy field, what about me, that could make things experience in Mount Shasta right now. And I'm preparing to go inside the mountain for 7 years. And I would like to know how I'm supposed to prepare for this. And I'm telling, yeah, and I'm saying that the heart of you says, what about me? This is going to pop up because some of your needs didn't get met. If you can feel and take care of these energies, okay, they're saying if you prepare beforehand the mental and the emotions of what your needs were that you didn't get met, and when you go in, you have an easier time because you're wanting to get something out of this adventure for 7 years. And they said to prepare it, it is to, if you believe that there's invading energies, if you believe in an enemy, if you believe in fear, if you believe in that, they said start to kick that to the curb. Rise higher, flip the script, allow you to become aware to stay connected. I would use the healing tools. Take one with you. OMG, if you catch yourself doing negative thinking, measure it. Why? Just measure it and then let the body begin to heal, because whatever you're doing in the mountain. They're saying that if you can keep your energies balanced, and I teach my tribe how to balance the energies, connecting your consciousness to your heart and making sure your spirit stays in your body and staying in your fixed state, you will be able to doing Celtic weave and heaven and earth. Now, why? If you're gonna be by yourself? Because what happens is they said that um, we're a type of person that have to have needs, get them met, and we're going to learn how to overcome certain needs that don't need to be met. And but we have this connection thing. So are you there to develop your connection? What's going on? What's theirs? But they're telling me that you have a program when you were about 6 years old and you just felt like you couldn't do something. And when you felt like you couldn't do something, you were overlooked. And then you're like, but what about me? And it's and I'm looking at her. She has this feeling of deficiency. that I have to, I have to change this. I have to create this. I have to be something different. So you're going there for a very specific purpose. And just be aware that the programs are going to interfere. And one of the programs is, from what I can see, is your little that says, "What about me?" How would you prepare for that? Is don't have to believe your own BS. And that means learning to stay connected, noticing what programs come up, where has your life force been. You can start with R2S, right wrist, second position, soft, and sit there and measure, what about me feeling? Because 3 days, 3D, yes, there will be other beings. Okay. And so while you're in that space, they're telling me again, like, you're going to need to make sure you don't become their ideas. It's a soulful journey from what I can understand. And so, yes, if it's going to be cramped corners or any of this stuff, then I would highly suggest that it's a free, you can go right on Medicine Woman Solution and watch the video, and it says Tribal Basics. There's also from my website peanut butter, and peanut butter is if you're in close connection and or if you touch somebody or if you're working on somebody, you are going to need to disconnect. You're going to have to, peanut butter is about scooping up the energy of the other person, ideas, the environment, and then, make it into a ball, then peanut butter it down, scoop it up again. And if you get good at this, you'll start to hear things, see things, colors, all of this, different shapes, feels, textures. And by the third time you get it all peanut butter down, you say, it's yours. And there is this energy that changes in the quantum entanglement cord between you and who and what and where. And if you sit with that, then if you did the tribal basics of balancing your energies, you will begin to feel that you can do this because the connection of spirit, your heart, all of these things are going to reshape your first, second, and third chakra. Because your first, second, and third chakra is about consuming, and it's about being human, and it has all these definitions. And that's where you are changing your definitions because you are becoming more of a spirit being. And in order to do that, you be that spirit being, you don't have to believe your own BS or your programs. So, anyways, that's what I would suggest. All right, let's look at Miss Amy. Got to get where's the button? There it is. Okay. And have a good time inside that mountain. Oh, that's very interesting. I will definitely be checking out the peanut butter theory out. Yes, go to Medicine Woman Solution. That's Soultion. Okay, solution, not solution, but solution. And .com, and look under healing tools. You'll see peanut butter. I'm not sure if I think I have it up. I know it's on YouTube for sure. The 14 steps of balancing your aura, building the boundaries, and all of this that is all about letting in and out love. Um, how do you join? How do you join the tribe? Well, we meet once a week through Facebook, or not, sorry, through Zoom, and it's $42 a month because we do healings. We talk about how to wake up as a spirit being, and that's what we do. So you would just pay 42 USD, and then I'd let you in, and then you get 30 days, and then you just pay every month. You just start to wake up and use your energy and see things differently. Okay, got the link. Go find her. Oh, there we go. Got it. But anyways, as far as doing the tribal basics, that's free. Tribal is about waking up and becoming your whole self, your spiritual human self. So it's bridging the gap. And you do not have to be your emotions. You don't any of those things. And if you're in the room, hit a thumbs up, become a subscriber on YouTube. Hello. Let's see if we can get the volume up. Hopefully mine's
Hi.
Hi, I might have to turn it up a bit. Let's try it now.
Is that better?
A little better. My speakers must have.
Did the speakers turn down on you?
No, I haven't turned down because I come in the morning and I don't wake my husband.
Oh, I don't blame you.
Yeah, I got it right though. Hi, how are you and how can I help you?
I'm good. There's been few, I don't know what kind of energy it's been, but just kind of weird.
Well, this has been weird because as I was seeing, it has a lot to do with these wounds, these very much, very strong, programmed, brainwashed wounds that says
Hmm.
this is what life is. And for the feminine energy to really come into balance with the young energy in this world, it's not supposed to be about separation. We have to face up to how are we creating our reality? How much do we believe it? So, what have you been believing in that you know as a spirit being that I'm losing life force to? Can you share or not?
No.
Okay, don't share. You can type it if you choose, and then I'll do my best to be very discreet. Oh, wonderful. That adventure about going to the mountain is it sounds very intriguing.
That does sound really intriguing.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, that's a biggie. That is truly a biggie. Um, oh, somebody, okay, hold on. I gotta take a picture of that. There. There we go. Lisa had just made a comment. Okay, so your path switching and your definition of path switching that you've learned from me is what? Just so I know we're on the same page.
Is like everything where you're at, you no longer fit. And you have to move unless you want to go back to sleep.
Okay.
Like not necessarily move location, but you have to move in your spiritual journey.
Very good. Very good. Okay, so in the path switch, again, if you don't take it as a whisper, you're going to have, if you're meant to move, you can go back to sleep and you're going to have a hard life. You're going to create, because you're saying, how many times does it take to get to the center of Tootsie Pop, right? Well,
Yep,
how many
yep.
times is it going to take until I awaken? And as soon as you hear the whispers and you're ignoring them, they're going to get stronger. And what does that mean? You're going to have more negative experiences. And because you're saying, I don't, you're digging your heels in. Who is the true nature of your spiritual self? No. Your
No.
programs are digging their heels in and saying,
Hmm.
no, I don't want to do this. Keep everything the way I know it.
Hmm.
I don't want to change. So there's a part of you that can have several stories. I have several trajectories. One, my path, which is that everything I know is going to be gone and I need to just get rid of it now. You can be looking at it as anxiety and fear before it actually happens. You can borrow information. You've heard my story and you're like, oh my God, that sounds like what I'm got to go through. Okay. But I didn't have to go through it as scary. Understand?
Hmm.
Okay. I'm watching it unfold. So the first time you start to encounter non-fleshies, experiences with weird things that happen, if you're in your spiritual space, you're not going to be freaked out by it.
Hmm.
So why are you doing that now?
It's a program.
Very good, very good. And it has to do with that part of the brainwashing of the mother wound, like I was saying. Uh, your circumstances that, yes, in order for you to take charge, part of you, you need to know certain things. So getting information, beginning to do things, that makes sense to you, right?
Hmm.
Okay. As you begin to do certain things, can you feel yourself saying, I don't want to do them?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking here, and the very first layer is you are aware that you have been manipulated by your family to create a future so they can supply for you for whatever reason. You may be disabled or you're the female and you can't take care of you. I don't know what structure all those belief systems were like the man's supposed to be in charge, the man's supposed to do this, whatever structure, and you're like, you're fine with it, but now your spirit is going, we're not fine with it. I'm being taken care of like I'm a porcelain doll.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being taken care of like I'm a baby. And again, the archetypes, you're meant to evolve. So we know that you had the orphan archetype
Mm-hmm.
and you
Yes.
can have the abandonment, but do you need to believe that you
No.
have to be those emotions and that tragic story forever?
No, you don't.
Okay, so now you're healing that out. What does this mean? Well, I don't identify with abandonment anymore.
Mm-mm.
Now you're looking at another perspective. Well, if I'm going to be doing this, this, and this, I'm going to be abandoning. Oh, now I've got to beat myself up. So now you're looking at another perspective. But is it true?
No.
So why do you have to feel you need to? Those people are going to accuse me of this or that, and I don't want to be accused of this or that. And but it's about other people's thinking. Who
It's
got it in your head that what you're doing is wrong? Somebody else's belief, opinion, emotions, their heart, I wouldn't do that, or whatever, somehow becomes this hypnotic, oh my God, I can't. So you're looking at this going, I can't, I can't. But is it I can't, or is it because their fear I can't?
their fear.
Okay, the question then becomes whose life are you living? If they were dead and gone, what are you going to do? Are you still going to do your path, or are you going to do this? I got to give up on my life. Are they displaying your mother?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like I said, this whole week's about mothers being displayed. And how did you react to your mother? And those programs are going to come up and you're going to notice that you're automatically doing them. And you're just like, oh my God, it takes you right back to that sensation.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, is that sensation is what needs to be healed? And he said, this is where you believe you're deficient. Their fears, their concerns, their worries. Now, have I displayed any of that?
No.
Okay. But you needed to see your programs of what made you agree to everything in your life at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to repeat this.
No.
You don't want to have to look at it and say, this is my battle and this is my war. Now, that's what it'll look like because you can become very dangerous. And I don't like that word, but you can become, you don't, how do you want to put it? You don't need to need them. You know what the next phrase is.
Mm-hmm.
You heard it in your head, and what word you can type it if you want, but feel the word how you know that you're supposed to program to fulfill.
It's it's part of the deficiency, yes, but it's also the program that or the way that they're showing up to me is the program that I saw growing up in my mother, and they're displaying that program without even realizing that they're doing it.
Right. And you're like, but I don't want to see the program. Here's the kicker. So this is where you would do L2D. Okay. You're supposed to regret your decisions. You're supposed to do all these things. You have to fulfill everything they want. But your filter, your experience will never let you see anything greater than that. So you are going to hit your cap. So if you see somebody displaying that action, you're like, but man, I can touch it, I can hear it, I can smell it, I understand it. They're doing it. Don't tell it. Yes, they're doing it, but they're going to be doing it through that lens. You're going to hear it and you're going to obey it. You're going to do all these things just like you did then. The difference is that maybe when it came through that filter, it got skewed, twisted. What response you were most to give is what you have to realize is happening. You're taking it in, but you're still doing the automatic response. You as a spirit needs to wake up and going, why was that button pushed and that's what I gave? I fell for this and I gave that. You don't want to let them down. You're looking for their approval. Because if they take it away, how much damage can they do to you?
I'm hearing a lot, and yet I know nothing.
So, if you were little and they were using reward and punishment, you like, oh, you won't let me down, will you, honey? Not like your sister, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And or but you're like, but I can't. So now listen, I can't let them down. I can't act that way. I have to. And I want, do you see the pattern? See how easy it is? Now
Uh-huh.
stop and just feel each one and measure it. It's like, feel how it grips.
Oh, Jesus.
You have to notice how it grips because if you don't, oh, I did something wrong. Lordy B, I lost my thing. Feel the button. Feel how the body says, no, this is how we have to do it. And notice what you have to do to yourself. Notice how you have to put yourself in line. I have to behave. I have to do this. I can't think anything other than that. Can you feel it?
Mm-hmm.
Question becomes, can you see the limit? You can't. Can you see the restriction?
Like I'm not allowed.
Right. And it's capped. You don't know nothing beyond that. So what do we have to heal? The feeling and the knowing of I can't. How do you know that's true? You can give me all these reasons, but I want you to feel them. How dare you cross that line? You know there's a line. You can't cross that line.
Mm-hmm.
And if they bitch and moan, and you gotta show up exactly so they'll stop. You're probably a child that has to make sure you take care of their worries.
Uh-huh.
They need you. The question is, do you really need them?
No.
I remember my first teacher when she told me that she was moving. Oh my God, my fears, my worries. How will I live without you? What am I supposed to do? And then it's like, well, you can't move there. You shouldn't move there. And it's like, without realizing it, I was beginning to give them reasons to hold themselves back. And I'm like, what am I doing that for? Now, I never shared that with them. I just know that I had to heal that so that I could let them go because they're going to be just like this. So who was the first person you said, oh, I'm with them, this person every single day. We talk for hours and everything, this and that. And then all of a sudden one day I said to you, where are they? And they go, I don't know. I said, how long have they been gone? 6 months. I said, wow, did you die?
No.
Did you even know they were gone?
No.
What makes this different? Getting sucked into, you love them.
Mm-hmm.
and you don't really want to live without them, but you can see what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're either going to succumb and stay that way, or are you going to heal out how you have to train yourself to always respond that way?
Feel it out.
Good, good, good. It's very good. Why was there a but? Why was there a but? I just heard a but. But you would have to destroy the whole realm. You would be bringing World War III. Now let's look at it from one more angle. My territory. This is all I've ever known. I'm using them as my excuse to not move forward. So what are you really afraid of then? The fears that it won't work?
There's a part that fears that, yes.
Well, you don't have to destroy your whole world. That's why I've been giving you different options.
Mm-hmm.
You do not have to destroy your world. Okay. You don't even have to see. I just heard you go, oh, I fear of being alone. I'm feeling fear. Is it? Are you? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you going? You just started doing an echo.
I just heard there's a piece missing, and I'm like, what piece is missing?
All right. So an echo is the fact she was looking, she's following these thoughts, she's feeling, and all of a sudden she just left herself. She echoed back as if I can't be present while I'm doing this thing that's happening in my reality. It freaks me out. And I said, so you're telling me that this part of you, when you were 4 years old, couldn't handle what was happening and couldn't be in the moment. So another part of you was to have to go through it, but that echo part, this is I can't be. So I'm going to say, what number do you feel right now?
Yeah, two.
All right, you're going to put a golden white light on this because this is part of your homework. Your 4-year-old began to create these relationships about manipulation. Everybody's going to try to change everybody's behavior. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be a battle of who's going to win. But at 4 years old, towards yourself, you started developing this habit that you felt awkward. I don't, and look up the word awkward. It's not even, it's this, this controlled how you saw that you could do the world. And if you were to look through the other people's eyes and they found it awkward, but you didn't, but then you took on their definition of awkward, you then would be looking out and seeing the world through their eyes. And so then they would convince you, and then you would think the way they think and believe what they think. But that's why you had that special trip when you traveled to go visit Robin.
Mm-hmm.
you experienced something that you'd never experienced before. But proved to yourself that you're amazing
Mm-hmm.
and it was easy and that love guided you. And you, as a child, like most of us, won't know how to resolve. We will be stuck in this fear that we don't know how to do it. But if you've ever tired, are you going to just fall down and fall asleep, or are you going to seek out to find a bed?
I'm gonna seek out to find a bed.
When you were traveling and you got tired, you sought out to pull over or to get a room or to, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling me that you can't do that in the future?
No, I can do that.
Okay, you're hungry.
I'm gonna
Are you
find
going to
food.
be, it's going to be natural to go out and find food.
Mm-hmm.
So why are you believing that you can't do that? Oh, I can't pay my rent. I don't have money. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Spirit has provided everything to you up to this point and will continue to do so.
Mm-hmm.
You have, I need this. So you've sought it out. Let me talk to Lee. Let me talk to this. Let me do this. Let me get a job here. Let me do this. Let me do it. So why is your lies, your fear lying to you that about things? If you have to go poop, are you going to hold it in? You may. But eventually, the absolute is everybody poops.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to find a way to do it. I mean, the great toilet paper scare. You figured out without toilet paper how to wipe your ass.
Yep.
You may have not told anybody how you did it, but do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
You have the resolving ability within you, and you know that you're not going to go rob Peter to pay Paul unless you have to, but you know you're not going to go and take from somebody just to get your needs met. This is where you're growing, you're developing, and you're going to do it with love, and you're going to do it with help, and you're going to do it with guidance, and you're going to do it with spirit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But do you feel that, oh, I have to stay here and sacrifice my life because I can't live, I can't afford a home, or I can't afford food, or I can't do this? You have been providing for yourself, but
Mm-hmm.
at 4 years old, you were convinced by somebody that the outside is greater than you and can hurt you, and that you have to be prepared and let everybody else do it. And now you are like, wait a minute, I've been doing pretty good up to this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so your fears and your worries, but if you push come to shove, you would do what you need to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So why are you stuck in that echo? Think about it just for a minute. Who put the thought and the fear that you have to be awkward and that you can't do it?
My mother. And what I just saw as you were talking was my little in like hiding or in a closet or something, and it's like she needs to be brought out into the light
Okay.
because she doesn't have enough information.
Correct. So when you do get more information, what happens?
It's like the light goes on. The light bulb goes on, and
What does she need? How about asking her in your private time or in a session, whatever, you go ask her, how would you solve this? Now, at first, she may just use a crayons, but clever kids,
Mhm.
I would sit back and watch. Okay, AI just said but with 2 T's, but talk and echoes. Oh my God.
That's
That's your
funny.
take. That's your takeaway, AI. Okay.
That's funny.
So how we can label things can help make you laugh. But don't label it. Don't take on the label. Don't be awkward. Don't be somebody's fear. I want you to notice how you know when to go to bed. How do you know to snuggle with the cat? How do you know to scratch your nose? How do you know to go get groceries? How to do the obvious.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be awkward. Oh, wait, my hand, I can't put my hand up to my nose. My nose really itches, but I'm awkward. I don't know if I really can do it. I mean, just play with that and look at that word. Is it true? And if you can measure that you're supposed to feel awkward or you use awkward to be the things that are unknown with worry, why do you need to? Because your spirit has shown you day after day how easy it is to
Uh-huh.
drive a car, to shovel snow, to, talk to the cats, to eat,
Mm-hmm.
to, go to sleep. I mean, the obvious.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know how to do first chakra very well. You can do it. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're afraid to be homeless, let me tell you something. I am impressed with some of these people that live in their van because they're like, the world is demanding that you have to do this. Hell, it's just easier. Some people have sold their stuff and lived in a van just because they're nomads. It's in their being, and it's okay. It
Mm-hmm.
makes sense to them. But I was like, oh my God, I gotta do this. I don't want to be homeless, and I'm using other people's fears. I could have converted my van into a home. And then I would have to heal all of the fears about how people think that's stupid or that's wrong or that I shouldn't. And it's like, well, wait a minute, who am I living for?
Mm-hmm.
Me. But is it really wrong to live in your van? No, you ask a bunch of these that have caravan life. You have some of these people that they are nomad energy. They prefer it.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say is one's right and the other one's wrong?
Nobody.
I talked to some homeless and they're like, they had money, but they preferred to not do that human thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, it was, so I took my naive self and I was listening to how some people are talking and some people are just, it's just an easier thing. I was like, whoa, see, there's so many different perspectives going on. So it comes sometimes down to a choice. Some people are forced and they have no choice, but at the same time, there's some people that do have a choice. And it's like if I want to put my head down at night, I'm going to find a way.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
Mm-mm.
So do you have to take on somebody else's fear?
No.
Or are you doing it because you were taught that everything is fearful and awkward and you can't do it, so you had to find a reason not to do it?
It that program has been kicking off a lot.
Right. So what did I tell you in tribal? Like I told all the tribal members that you need to pay attention for the full week. And what was it? Large intestine. What's the language about keep them around the homestead?
Mm-hmm.
So,
What I keep hearing when I like go out for a walk is I'm not supposed to step off the curb.
okay. And
That's
what?
a 4-year-old.
Okay. And then this last thing, keep them around the homestead. So you're hearing other people's fears
Mm-hmm.
and their awkwardness. Well, I can't leave. And so now you're using that as your excuse to not fulfill your path switch. This is where you're meant to grow. This is why spirit is like, we got the soil, we're good, she'll sprout any time now, just wait. As long as you don't fall for all of those fears.
Mm-hmm.
So keep him around the homestead has many different angles. I hope you get to talk about this tomorrow in trouble. Because we can lie to ourselves, we can convince ourselves, but what it boils down to is this is how you knew your life.
Yeah.
And you're stuck in this program because you can't see anything greater than the cap. But when you heal out the emotions, spirit's going to give you another angle to see. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, well, at least she has a home. At least she has a home. That's good. Okay. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
And
you. I love you. And I'll see you
hopefully,
tomorrow.
all right, hopefully I was discreet enough.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, good, because you get concerned about that. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay, and you have a good night.
You too.
And do what's so easy. You already know how to resolve to evolve. You got this. You've been taking care of good part of yourself for a long time.
Oh yeah.
You're doing it 100% really well.
Yes.
All right, just don't be afraid to lose your territory. Not about that.
No, it's not.
Expanding. Okay. All right, love you. We'll talk
Love
to you
you
later.
too.
All right, bye.
Bye.
I hope you got something out of today's program. I really do. Because we don't have to believe our own BS. We don't have to believe our stories. We don't have to be the story. We don't have to be our pain and sufferings. We're in here, inside the program, but the mind, the spirit self, can learn how to use that gift of awareness and be the observer to look outside and see how we're acting and being, not to shame ourselves, not to guilt, but just sit there and go, oh, look at all the energy I put into that negative. I take that energy out. I can measure it, how I know it's there, and I can use a tool, OMG or EFT or any of the tools, and I can change, and you'll know you're changed because the number, especially if you're tapping, you sent for a mini one? Okay. You all of a sudden your brain will be clear. Whoops, wrong button. Not seeing it yet. Just a second. All right, give me a second. I'll wait for it to come in. And then you can tell me what you want the reading about or anything. But you do know how you know it. And it's that emotions that can be measured. And when you hear because you've had it all the time, you memorized, you fired and wired it, you're not going to think about it. You're going to feel it first, and then you're going to think about what you're feeling. And then you're going to think about or feel what you're thinking, and you keep doing this thing, and you get caught into this program. And you, as a spirit, is going to say, stop, I can stop this loop. Let me put my finger here, make it stop. Disrupt it. It's in paper. Yeah, it's the only way I can take it right now. Let me just double check and actually, no, I can't use my phone. It's right there. Oh, gracious sakes. Okay. Oop, can't do that either. But I can go where? So hopefully you get something out of this. I really do. Really do. It makes sense. Oh, yay. Okay. Oh, well, all I see. Did you hit the button, Julie? Did you hit the button? Because all I see so far is Lisa's, the last one. So I went right to my account, and sometimes people forget to push send or pay. Yep, I did all those. But I can be patient. I can be patient. If you're new here and haven't had a reading before, I can give you a free reading. So if I've never read you before, Julie, I could sit there and do that part while the other part's coming in. Again, you know. But what does your soul want? What does your soul want you to look at? What do you want to heal and to uncover and to remove the caps so you can see something you can't see before? And that's up to you. And you can ask spirit, you can connect with that part of yourself, but who's doing the listening? And is there a disconnect? What's going on? I will give you a free reading as well. And if you did send anything, I'll extend it on a little bit further. So I'm not sure what you want to address, but the first thing that goes to it is saying your spirit is saying that there is this, sometimes I get very lost. So sometimes the dark night of the soul seem to linger. And I'm like, what are you referring to? And they said there is, like, for instance, I feel wiped out. Have you ever felt wiped out? Because what they're showing me is that, like, oh, I got to correct this. I got to clean this. I got to do this. There's a compelled to neatness. There is this certain type of order that needs to be in place. Does that make any sense? Okay. And, the feedback with that takes forever. Let's see what happens. Um, they're showing me the keyword criticism. And when somebody criticizes, that you can feel that energy invade your space. And the body says, where'd my love go? And so you have to fulfill these obligations. You got to help this person. You got to do this. And you feel like these orders are coming through. And as these orders are coming through, you're sitting there going, no, I have to get this in place. And as this happens, you get very, very wiped out because you're living externally. And seems like the external has always 1,000 demands. And I said, are you saying that she doesn't put herself into her wheel of life? No, this is how her parents. So what you've learned from your parents. So are you displaying? Are you doing what your parent did? So displayed parents is, are you doing what parents did? And there's this invading energy. The environment is always asking something from you. So you're looking outside going, oh my God, I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this. And then you literally have somebody that comes up and says, you got to do this. And you're like, ah. And it's hard to live in here when the demands are out there and you got to correct this so you can feel right. Feel right. When you don't feel right and you got to fix it, fix it. That's what they want you to focus on. Can you understand? Can you measure that feeling of, oh, it's just not. If you can measure that, you can apply healing to it and you can start to disrupt this pattern because interference patterns is all there is. So you would begin to heal so that you can go, okay, I'm going to take my power back from things that disrupt me. Okay. And I says, what do you want? And they said, well, there's a power that I feel like I'm a lack of power. But if I'm in charge and I do this and I control this and I can do that, then I have my power. I says, yeah, but there's the feeling of lack of power. So the thing I just said and connecting with lack of power is all under L2D, the liver. So left hand, first, second fingers, and you put your thumb at that second finger, not the first, but the second. You push in deep, not soft. And you put your finger here, create the letter C, safety, security, stability. Now, the heel of the palm to the forehead, let your fingers drop. That's where you're going to sit. The first measure, she goes, yes, grew up people-pleasing, and I'm an empath, stopped needing to fix. Correct. So she's used the words, I feel like the need that I have to fix. And I said, okay, great. That's still left wrist, second position, deep. So you got 3 things I just said that you can apply it to. And the lie, I have to be the one to fix it. Again, left wrist, second position, deep. Why do you have to be the one? So as you begin to feel that energy that you have to fix it, is it because it's on your nerves or everybody turns to you or that's what you're supposed to do? You just feel and notice the directions, notice all these things and just feel it. Just sit there and feel it. Getting that measure because you know it's there. You focus on it. So you write down these different statements that you have, and you measure those emotions on each one, and then you start applying this one. You are going to be your brain, you're going to bring the blood back up. The chemical peptide that says you're supposed to fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it is going to, again, this chemical peptide, these are your cells, and then it's going to release. And then the cells are going to, I got to fix it to, okay, instead of being burnt out, you're changing the thought, the emotions. You can tell yourself all day long, I'm not the one to fix it, but it's the feeling state. So if you begin to heal the body and the brain and the blood and everything, then you get it down to 0. And when the button gets pushed that you're supposed to fix it, you have a choice point and you're going to go, yeah, no, I don't have to. Again, you have to heal the feel. All right. So did you send the money or didn't you? I need to know, because if you did, I have to wait for it. And then I'll give you more. But it's in the feeling. It's how you know it. It's right there. It's always. That can be measured. When you begin to notice how you stare at it, and you apply the tool and you feel it, the little buttons. You can either sit with it and it can grow, or you can nip it in the bud and just like heal a chemical peptide down to zero. And again, the vending machine will pop up and you're going to experience that trigger. But you, if you're home spiritually, you're going to go, oh, but I don't have to. You're going to be able to hear, I don't have to put all into it. Okay. If that makes sense. Now, again, I'm going to look. I don't see anything yet, but it doesn't mean anything. There it is. See, I can't understand. Okay. I got to figure out how to change that on there because it has my old price. How to fix that? I have no idea. But here we go. Do you want me to continue on or do you want me to give you something else? Because the money did show up. Just waiting for her to respond. Do I have time? Probably not today, but maybe tomorrow. Yeah, so please go on with what we've been talking about, or give you something new, Julie. Continue. Okay, gotcha. All right, you got it. There's a sensation in this feeling that you have to chase your dreams instead of attract in. You have to go after your dreams, and because you have all these obligations, that it's just out of reach. Now, understand that if you are doing law of attraction, or you understand karma or cause and effect or any of these things, if your feeling state is that I have to chase it, it means that you have to always go after it, but it's just out of reach. That's what you have to measure and heal. Do you understand? Now, I'm going to go after my dreams, but that means I already have the funny feeling in my dreams that this is what I'm doing, and I'm going to develop and watch it bloom. I'm already holding at some, I arrive, I've already seen it bloom. Now it's like, okay, what do I do next? Thank you, Spirit. But it's like, oh, I don't have it. Then you're telling the universe I don't have it. And the universe says, okay, I'm going to show you more of I don't have it. I have to keep chasing it because I am so obligated for over here that I can't get to my dreams. There's no time for me to do this because I have all of this. So then all of this is where you don't have time for you. So all of this can be measured. All of that can be measured. What does it look like? So this is where, again, you can measure it. They said that you have to be fanatical. You have to be hyper-focused on, I have to do this. So the question is the outside demanding it, or is it on your nerves to the point where you have to stare at it? And I feel like that's how you saved yourself. I'm looking at 7 years old, and you had something happen to you from what I can see physically, and your emotions and the motions of being hysterics and drama and trauma, you could not, you had no tools, so you were left to your own devices, and so the outside demanded, and so you focused on feeling how it demanded, and so you solving it somehow gave you some form of relief. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like you took on the role of being a healer, took on the role of, because you're an empath, you're going to be absorbing into these emotions. And this is where I'm going to tell you to use that tribal basics, start balancing your energy fields. And then you're going to have to stop believing that you're the only one. Their energy is aimed at you, and you've trained your relationship is that I have the answers. They're saying, I have needs. Oh, now it's like they go to you to get the answers. And it used to make you feel good, like you're important and all this. Now it just drains the hell out of you. You're changing the relationship, and this energy field that crosses over is called scalar field. So this scalar field can be measured, and it's they show up this way, you have to automatically show up this way. And you want to change the auto response because it's like, but I don't want to. And this is where some people will give the energy so much that their body will be getting sick and depleted and just you're like on your last nerve. But the demands from the outside is what you have to heal. Do you understand? And if you can look, and this is monotonous time, and you can see their aggression, you can see their hystericalness, you see all of this, and you're like, oh. And my response was I was there to help save. And now it's become an addiction where they will act this way, you will have to respond this way. I want you to feel how they act this way and feel how it makes you want to respond this way. And then I want you to actually write it down. Left wrist, second position deep, because your liver right now is like, ah. When you do the tribal basics and you're kicking people's energy out, be aware of, I can feel their stuff. And let's say it's in your face. Well, you're going to focus on doing a figure eight, which is Celtic weave, elbows together. You're going to go, and you're going to kick it out. You're going to measure it. Okay. You really need to kick this energy out. Do L2D. And when you go to do the basics, you won't really be seeing it being so strong in your face. Maybe it's farther away. You can do I have a whole bunch of free healing tools you can do. Cord switching could be one. Sensory accessing, like eye accessing, always seeing that you have to do it a certain way. You help your brain hold a different story. You will change your reality. Okay. All right. Hopefully that helps. You guys are really good. I'm proud and happy to see all of you guys. I do have an appointment, so I do got to get going, but I will double check to make sure nobody else has wrote me, sent me, and what is on here? Oh, there it is. Okay. Looking and seeing what I need to do. Gotcha. Okay. You get any of these readings, re-listen, very specific words, look up definitions of emotions, understand them from every point of view. Notice that your body can be a healing tool. Use your body. This resonates very much. Good, good, good. Use the body to heal. Don't just intellectualize, because if you just intellectualize, you're just going to make matters worse. You want the intellectualization, but just doing OMG, EFT, you can measure, you can change the emotional chemical peptide, you can become aware how you're responding and change it. You can do this. And the more you balance yourself, the more you get your brain right, the more that the inner world will change, so the outer world will change with you. All right, guys, you guys are great. Remember, hashtag resolve to evolve. Hashtag heal instead of deal. Hashtag when in doubt, grab a healing tool and heal it out. Hashtag you can heal this. Hashtag thank you, Spirit. You are blessed and whole, so stay blessed and happy healing. And we will talk to you not next week because